Dvaipayano Viroka Tarua Juhava Putre Ditanmayataya Taruvo Vanido Tam Sarvabhutayam Munimanatosmi Bhaktya Vinay Aparadalakshay Chaptasya Kamadi Tarangamadye Kripamaitvam Sharanam Paparyam Vrindehi Namaste Charanarvindam Tavayvasmi Najivanitam Vina Iti Vidyaya Radhe Tam Nayamam Sharanam Tike. First, I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astotra Sat Shri Srimati, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astotra Sat Shri Srimati, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vidyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and all of our Guru Varga, and today, especially, that is, you've heard that it's Vasanta Pancami, Saraswati Puja, that is Didi Saraswati, Srimati Radhika. It's the holy day of Srila Viswanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Raghunandana Thakur, Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi, and Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Swarup Parvati Goswami Maharaj. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So our MC, that is Shriman Ramchandra Prabhu from Delhi, who reminds me so much of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, who you'll hear about later, because he is Vishaya Praya. He's a householder, and he has 2 daughters, a wife in Houston who he's going to visit. At the same time, he brought over 1,000 disciples to Gurudev to be initiated. He would bring hundreds and hundreds of youth from ISKCON and families all over Delhi by bus, by trains, by car caravans, not only to Braj for Parikrama, but also to visit Srila Gurudev. Ultimately, they would get initiated by him. He coordinated from the beginning Srila Gurudev's Hindi publications, coordinating various translators, editors, and so on. And up till today, he's coordinating publication and also distribution of Gurudev's Hindi books. He can't stop himself from preaching. So besides giving his 2 classes a day in Delhi, which is the most perhaps populated of all of Gurudev's sanghas in the whole world, thousands and thousands of people come and go regularly, and especially on Janmashtami and other big holidays, thousands of devotees attend. So he gives classes there, and he also gives classes every day on WhatsApp to over 1,000 devotees. So, and Gurudev gave him funds to build in 2001, he wanted a temple in Delhi. So, just as we hear that Raghunath Das Goswami went through all lengths, and Bhakti Vivek Bharati Goswami Maharaj went through all lengths to establish enlightenment Dhaka, That is, there was all Sahajis there, and nobody wanted to even rent out a building or a storefront or anything for the Gaudiya Mutt. So he wasn't at all obstructed. He gave classes in Dhaka for a whole month, which attracted so many people. But still, he couldn't get any land unless the municipal commissioner Hindu commissioner would, because they were all afraid of the reaction. With great endeavor, he got a Gaudiya Mutt temple. So Ramchandra Prabhu was given money in Delhi, and because the public very difficult for him. So he went to them 400 times, and finally they succumbed and gave the land. Then, so then Gurudev was giving the money, but then when the Navadvip project started, Gurudev said to Ramchandra Prabhu, no more money. So did he get discouraged? He went all over the world, collecting a little bit here, a little bit there, a roti here, a pice there, and built the most magnificent Gaudiya Mutt temple in Old Delhi. The Raman Bihari, and Gurudev personally named the deities Raman, Radha, Raman, Gaudiya Mutt, and installed the big deities, installed the little deities, installed his own Guru Maharaj there. So that's why Ramchandra Prabhu reminds me of Pundarik Vijayamurti. So our MC, Ramchandra Prabhu requested.
You have celebrated now three personalities today. Pundarik Vidyanidhi.
Well, we haven't begun his glories.
And also, what was his?
Ramchandra. So he asked me to speak about Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who all of you know, and it's so wonderful that so many are here. There are like millions and millions of people here in this temple today, even though ordinarily it would be hard to fit in so many different species of life, including the demigods. And what to speak of the Lord. So it's a very auspicious day. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, as you know, is the number one Rupanuga Vaishnava, number one follower of Rupa Manjari. Rupa and Rati are the leaders of all the maidservants, innumerable maidservants of Srimati Radhika. And in this world, he was born in a very wealthy and aristocratic family. He was the only son of his father and uncle. Which right from his babyhood, he was unattached to. When he was just a little baby, Srila Haridas Thakur came to his house. It appeared that he came to the house of his parents to visit them, but Gurudev explained that because they're actually Vaishnava Praya, unlike Pundarik Vijayamurti, who's Vishaya Praya, pretending externally to be a material. His parents, Raghunath Das Goswami's parents, were Vaishnava Praya. That is, they were Vaishnavas in the sense that they would host so many Vaishnavas at their house, but they were also engaged in sense gratification. So Haridas Thakur really didn't come to see them. He only came because baby Raghunath Das was there. And Gurudev was very funny. he said Haridas Thakur would put little Raghunath on his lap. Okay, baby, chant Hare Krishna. And this way he was trained from bhakti, in bhakti for soul at such an early stage. And when he was only 5 years old, he was initiated by Srila Yadunandanacharya, who was the family guru. What I'm explaining now is coming from a lecture that Srila Gurudev gave. He gave so many lectures on Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. This particular one he gave in Holland in June in 2003. So he was also trained by Sri Yadunandanacharya. And at every point that Srila Gurudev was saying about Raghunath Das Goswami's life, he was saying there's so much instruction here, because how did he get, at such an early age, the association of two associates of the Lord? It seems like it was Sukritis and Sanskars. So Srila Gurudev was explaining that he's playing the role of somebody who had lots of Sukritis and Sanskars. So we're encouraged to collect as much of that as we can, so that in our next life and lives after that, it will be easier for us, though it's difficult now. So then, when, because Srila Haridas Thakur and Yadunandanacharya and other Vaishnavas were always talking to him about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the time he became 12 years old, he became maddened. Oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when will I see you? When will I see you? So it just so happened that, quote unquote, in Gurudev's words, tricky Nityananda Prabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he wanted to go to Vrindavan, but Nityananda Prabhu waylaid him and brought him to Shantipur instead. So there, at the house of Advaita Acharya, because Shantipur was so close to Raghunath Das Goswami's village, he got to go there and see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his last visit there, when he met his mother and every. So he told Mahaprabhu, he was constantly with him on that visit, and he told him, I want to go with you everywhere you go. So here's another instruction. They were both playing that he wasn't ready yet. So Mahaprabhu said, don't be a crazy fellow. Don't be mad. If you leave home now, then you'll return later. Wait till you're matured. And internally have faith and always chant and remember Radha and Krishna. And externally, act like an ordinary person. Get a job. Follow the instructions of your parents. And internally and externally. Loka vyavahara. Externally, just be like an ordinary material person. So Raghunath Das Goswami strictly followed Mahaprabhu's instructions. He went home, he started joining the family business in real estate, landholding. But internally, he was always thinking of Mahaprabhu and chanting and remembering Radha and Krishna. So, because he was so sincere in following Mahaprabhu's instructions, Nityananda Prabhu decided to help him, because there were so many obstacles. He wanted to leave home, but he couldn't, because there were guards and like a police force watching him. Even though he was so wealthy, still he was like in prison. So Nityananda Prabhu came near to his village, to Panihati, and as soon as he heard that Nityananda Prabhu was in Panihati with his associates, he was determined to go. So he said to his father, Father, I'm going to meet Nityananda Prabhu. So his father didn't object. He bowed down from a little bit of a distance, offered his satsang pranam, and Raghava Pandit introduced him to Nityananda Prabhu, who was sitting on a raised seat around a banyan tree along with his most intimate servants, who were all cowherd boys, had a raised platform on the ground beneath the raised platform, all over the Pandit said, "Here's Raghunath Das." He said, "Oh, bring him. Come, come, come. Hey, Chor. Chor means thief. Do you think you can steal my Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without my blessings? You want to go to him, but you're not getting my blessings? Therefore, I'm going to punish you." So part of the punishment was that he put his lotus foot on Raghunath Das Goswami's head, which even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva desire to attain because he's Balaram himself, but cannot attain. But Raghunath Das Goswami easily attained it. Did I say something wrong?
No.
Oh, because you were looking and then looked up.
No, I always look up. Every time somebody says I look up verses.
Okay. So where are we? So then the other punishment is that you'll have to throw a festival. So because he had his father's men and money, he engaged the men in going to all the surrounding villages and arranging for a Chittadahi festival. That is chipped rice with yogurt, chipped rice with condensed milk, along with bananas and sweets and so many wonderful fruits, so many wonderful things. So, and also getting earthen pots. So they got thousands, tons of thousands. And then as soon as the store owners heard that there's going to be a festival, they also came. And as soon as any of the villagers heard, they also came. So they made so much chipped rice and yogurt, 2 pots for every person. Chipped rice and yogurt, chipped rice with condensed milk, and so many other sweets and preparations. And then there were so many people that there wasn't even enough room to fit on the bank of the Ganges. So many people stood in the Ganges and took their pots of Chini Dahi there. And then a miracle happened. Nityananda Prabhu asked for a second pot of the same preparation. And then he mystically called for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was sitting, first Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and him, but hardly anybody could see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a few lucky people, like Raghava Pandit and Raghunath Das Goswami and a few others could see. Otherwise, Mahaprabhu was invisible to everyone, and no one could understand what was happening when Nityananda Prabhu was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was going person to person and taking a little bit from each pot and putting it in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mouth, and Mahaprabhu was taking and putting it in Nityananda Prabhu's mouth. And they were crying and they were laughing. And then they sat down and took prasadam together, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And so Raghunath Das Goswami was fortunate enough to see that. Not only that, he was fortunate enough that at the end of the festival, Nityananda Prabhu said to him, "So now you have satisfied me. Now you have satisfied me." He was so absorbed. His parents were discussing it, and his mother said, "Maybe we should just chain him." And then Acharya came and said, "I need your help. My pujari, my priest, didn't come for his duties to take care of my deities. So please come with me so that I can go and get him to do his duty." So Raghunath Das Goswami's parents didn't object because they figured, well, he's with his guru and his guru is going to bring him back. So there were no guards, no servants. So when they were on their way to the priest's house, Raghunath Das Goswami said to him, "No need for both of us to go. I'll just go and remind him of his duty, and you can go home." So Yadananda Acharya went home, and Raghunath Das told the priest, and then as soon as he told the priest, he left barefoot. Now he's a prince, so he's not used to walking barefoot. But barefoot, he began walking in the forest with all the stones and stone chips. He refused to go on the path. Welcome. He refused to go on the path because then he'd be found out. So he went in the dense forest, dangerous paths, which would have been a 1 month walk to Puri, but he did it in 12 days. And he was hardly eating anything because he had no time. He was running to reach his destination. So sometimes he would have a little that he would have sometimes morty and milk. And then, so by the time he got to Puri, after 12 days of running through the forest, he was like black because he wasn't clean. He was all dirty. He wouldn't be able to have recognized him. And worn and torn, his clothes got all worn and torn. So then he fell at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very merciful to him. He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you've taken me out of a pit of the stool of sense gratification. And then Mahaprabhu gave him to put him in the hand, put his hand in the hand of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and made him Swarupera Raghu, the property of Swarup Damodar. And he said, he knows more than I do, so it's better if you take instructions from him. So Gurudev said, why did he explain that? Why did he say that? It was because what he said was true. Because Mahaprabhu is Krishna, and Krishna knows how it feels to be served, and Mahaprabhu knows how Radharani feels to serve Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as himself and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna doesn't know what it's like for anybody else to serve Krishna and anyone to serve Radha. So therefore he put him in the hands of Swarup Damodar. He said, he can give you all instructions. But I can tell you one thing. You want to eat lavishly, don't eat delicious foodstuffs, and don't wear opulent clothing. So Gurudev, because he's always giving, he said this pastime is full of so many instructions. He said, whereas in our mutts these days, if they don't get delicious foodstuffs in the mutt, then they go to restaurants. And regarding being renounced from his most beautiful wife, who was like Miss Universe, he said, these days it's just the opposite. And there was one in the class, because I was there that day. In the class, there was one red-cloth brahmachari who started bleaching his clothes for becoming on the way to householder. So Gurudev zoomed in on him and he said, oh, my dear son, dear boy, so you want to drink poison? You're asking me for, please, Gurudev, give me order, drink poison, have some poison. No, I will not give you an order to drink poison. If you want to drink poison, then do it on your own, but it will not come from me. So what will such disciples do? They'll clap and be so happy and go to all their friends and say, Gurudev has given me order to drink poison, changing Gurudev's order. So Raghunath Das Goswami was immediately very renounced, or continued to be more and more renounced. So at first, he was taking prasadam in the temple, and then for only 5 days. And he refused the money and men of his father. Now his father had no control anymore. So then he was just begging outside of the temple, whatever anybody would come and give. But then he realized, this is just like a prostitute standing here. Who will give me this? Who will give me that? Oh, this person's not giving me anything. Oh, maybe the next person will give me. So he stopped doing that, and every time he was doing something, Mahaprabhu, when he heard it, he would say, oh, very good. And then when he would move on to the next thing, Mahaprabhu would say, oh, I'm glad he moved on to the next thing. The other thing wasn't very good. So Guru does that. He encourages, but then he's waiting for you to go on to the next to encourage that, and then encourage that, and then say, I'm happy you left that. So finally, when he was taking just the rejected food from the drains of the Jagannath temple, which even the cows wouldn't take because they were just so rotten, and he would wash that and eat that, Mahaprabhu became so pleased that he went to his bhajan kutir and grabbed some from his hand and ate it. He said, oh, you're keeping all this from me and not even sharing it, just to show that how happy he was with Raghunath Das Goswami. So then, soon afterwards, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the vision of the world, and soon after that, being intolerant of Mahaprabhu's departure, 1 year later, Gadadhar Pandit became very old very quick, and he also disappeared. Then Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai disappeared, and gradually everybody couldn't bear being in Puri without these great associates of the Lord and the Lord himself. So gradually Puri became like a ghost town, and Raghunath Das Goswami was seeing in every dust, in every atom, he was seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and weeping and thinking, how can I live my life without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit and Swarup Damodar? I'm just going to die. What I'll do is I'll go to Vrindavan and die. I'll either jump off of Govardhan or I'll jump into the Jamuna and drown. But first I'll meet with Rupa and Sanatan, because he knew that Rupa Goswami was so much loved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sanatana Goswami was even honored by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He loved him so much. So he went to take shelter of them, but especially Sanatana Goswami, because he was like a government, previously he was a government minister. They could like read minds and body language and things. He had the Rajniti, Niti. So he knew that Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to quit his body by one way or the other way. So he said, look, he went to him and said, I wanted to do that too, because I had all these wet itches and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was embracing me, and I wanted to die under the wheel of Lord Jagannath's cart. But Mahaprabhu told me that's not the way that you get love of God, by dying. And anyway, it's my body, not yours. You gave it to me, so you can't do what you want with it. So, O Raghunath, the only way to get love for Krishna is by doing bhajan, not by killing yourself. So let us get you a hut, and you can do bhajan in your hut at Radhakund. And we know the different pastimes at Radhakund. At first he didn't have a hut, and he was just sleeping under different desire trees. And Sanatana Goswami saw that he was drinking water from the Kund, and a tiger came, and right near him was drinking water. So he thought, oh, this is so dangerous. And he convinced Raghunath Das Goswami to stay in a hut. Another time, Radharani saw him doing bhajan out in the open in the hot sun. So she took her veil and gave him an umbrella of her veil. So he was doing so much bhajan, 24 hours, day and night, weeping and rolling on the ground and eating a slice of butter or a little teeny cup of buttermilk every alternate day. And one time, Srila Gurudev told this pastime when he was giving his darshans on Gulab Kusmanjali, because it's Raghunath Das Goswami's prayers. So he said he would always take buttermilk every few days from this little tiny leaf cup, because the leaves were like cups sometimes in a particular tree. So one time, a devotee brought him a larger leaf cup. And he said, oh, where did you get this? So he said, I got this in Sakistali, in Chandravali's Kunj. Chandravali, and he took a stick and chased that devotee. He couldn't bear the name Chandravali because he's always thinking of himself as a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. And Chandravali's friends would always try to stop Radharani from being with Krishna so that he could meet with Chandravali. So, as you know, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami authored the Vallabh Kusmanjali, which Srila Gurudev was giving at least 50 classes on back in 1990 to 1994 even in Vrindavan and Mathura. And it's the book is just now coming over the next years. This is a little, what do you call this? Xerox copy of some of the verses. So, and Gurudev would often tell the verses of Vallabh Kusmanjali, like beginning with, "Oh, Rupa Manjari, you are known as the most chaste girl in this town. And yet, at the same time, I see that you have, even though your husband's gone for a few days to Mathura to get cows, I see that you have a big cut on your lip. Was that done by some big black parrot? So what is the meaning? I see that Krishna has kissed you. And what is the meaning of that? Because in the next verse, he offers his obeisance. He starts by offering his obeisance to his guru. That's the way one starts anything, isn't it? Class or reading a book or prayers starts with guru. And so in the next verse, he offers his prayers to Srimati Radhika, Estella Kamalini, or the land lotus, who, even though there were so many beautiful lotus flowers, that big black bee Krishna left all the others and took a beeline right to you. Therefore, you're bursting with flowers, with lotus flowers, out of pride. And then his next third verse is also to Srimati Radhika. So it couldn't be that he was praising Srila Rupa Goswami in the first verse, that Krishna left all the other lotuses and came to him, even Srimati Radhika? No, because what happens is Rupa Manjari is always watching, and the other Manjaris, they're always watching the pastimes, or even not watching. They're knowing what pastimes are taking place with Radha and Krishna. Even if Radha and Krishna are even if Radha and Krishna are in the Kunj, and they're out in the courtyard of the Kunj, when they wake up in the morning, they look at themselves to see what was going on with Radha and Krishna. Because what comes on the face or mind or heart of Radharani in her service to Krishna, that also comes on the bodies and minds of the Manjaris. So Gurudev asked, so was it in happiness? Because this is a joke, right? Oh, Rupa Manjari, isn't it interesting that even though your husband's out of town, and even though you're known as the most chaste girl in Vrindavan, still how did you get that cut on your lips? So it's a joke. But was that, Gurudev said, was that in sadness or was that in happiness? It was in sadness because now he's feeling vilap, he's feeling separation from everything. Because Raghunath Das Goswami, as an exemplary role-playing Bhav Raganuga Sadhak, he has 3 stages of consciousness. One is, they're all in the stage of mature Bhav, but 3 stages of, you'll hear. That is, one stage is called Antardasha, or the stage of internal consciousness, where he forgets he's Raghunath Das Goswami, and is just fully absorbed in himself being Rati Manjari, absorbed in the pastimes, and assisting, like for example, Krishna feels obliged to Radharani, how am I going to pay her back for her love for me? I don't know what to do. So one morning he got the opportunity. He started painting her feet. But then because he was nervous and he was kind of trembling because he's touching Madanaki Mahabhav essence of Radharani's feet. And so he starts making these squiggles. And Gurudev said, you can imagine what kind of art that's going to be when Krishna writes his own name in the ecstasy of Mahabhav, how much that trembling, what kind of art that's going to be. So then Radharani says, oh, you ball painter, you child neophyte painter, you don't know how to paint. And she motioned to Rati Manjari, show him how to paint. So Rati Manjari elbowed him, grabbed the brush and started painting her feet with the designs. And Krishna wouldn't tolerate that. He was full of anxiety that he lost his service. So then Rati Manjari bursts out laughing, and then Radharani pretends that she's upset, so she very lightly kicks the head of Rati Manjari. So what does that mean? It means that the lac from her foot, which Krishna was painting with his own name, mixed with her kumkum that was on the bottom of her feet, that the previous night Krishna had placed on his own chest, which mixed with his own perspiration, which made it like a paste, was what went on Raghunath Das Goswami's head. So he became overwhelmed with joy. Hare Krishna Prem. That reminds me, another name of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Gurudev said Mahaprabhu named him Premanidhi because he was the ocean of prem. So back to the subject. So Raghunath Das Goswami, Rati Manjari, was overwhelmed with joy. She looked in the mirror. She wanted to go and tell everybody, look, I've become a, what's the Hindi? Chapmara, a stamped servant of the government of Radharani. Look. And she went to look in the mirror, but nothing was there. No stamp, no Radha, no Krishna. And then she fell into the despair of Arjabahya Dasha, which is half internal, half external consciousness, and rolling and weeping, and remembering that pastime, but not being able to enter. And then soon she comes into Bahir Dasha, which is fully external consciousness, where he's still feeling separation from that pastime, but at the same time he can speak, he can write, he can meet with others. So these are the three stages that Raghunath Das Goswami goes through. So now he's feeling separation from his Rupa Manjari, and in that mood of unhappy separation, which is another kind of ecstasy, he's uttering that first verse. And then so many verses in the Vallabh Kusmanjali, like he's praying to Radharani, when will I bring you back to your home after your meeting with Krishna at night and after the Sanket meeting in the morning? And then when will I dress you? When will I bathe you? When will I bring you out to meet with Krishna at noon? When will you put the remnants from your mouth into my mouth? When will I learn from you lute playing and singing songs about your pastimes with Krishna, and then I'll sing to you and Krishna in a cave, and you'll be so pleased with me. And then he ends the Vallabh Kusmanjali, it was a short Vallabh Kusmanjali. Then he ends Vallabh Kusmanjali by saying, so now I'm filled with an ocean of hopes, O Radha, to become your maidservant. And if you don't give me that service, then what is the use of my living in Vrindavan? What is the use of Krishna to me? Bhakadi, what is the use of the killer of the Bakasura to me, Krishna? He means nothing. And what is the use of my life? It means nothing. Padam Jayos Tavavina Vadadasya Eva. O Radharani, all I want is to be your maidservant. I don't want to be your Saki. I put Sakiship on my head, but what I really want is to be your Dasi. And so many beautiful verses, but it's late, and as you know, he wrote the Manashiksha, which Gurudev wants us to memorize, imbibe, enter. And just one little tiny thing about the Manashiksha, because you all know Manashiksha here. When I was with Gurudev in New York, in those days, the girls used to go on morning walks with him too. So before the morning walk, my god sisters decided to tell me how bad I am for 2 hours. And so on the walk, I was just lamenting how bad I am. So then, Guruji usually never calls for me. But this time after the walk, he called for me. And he said, you know, it's not enough just to lament how bad you are. Not that I told him, I was thinking that. He said, you have to have positive thoughts. The moon of Gokul, Krishna Chandra, who is the Lord of my mistress, my Swamini. And always remember Radharani, who's my Swamini. And always remember her peerless friend, Lalita. And always remember Vishaka, who's the Shiksha Guru of Radharani and also the Shiksha Guru of us. And always remember Govardhan and Jamuna, the two great personalities who give rati for the service of Radha and Krishna. So I'll end here because it's so late and there are more speakers and more excellent speakers than me, and so many other personalities to glorify. So I'll end here. Thank you very much.
So,
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Begging the lotus foot dust of Shiva Gurudeva, Guru Parampara, and especially those Vaishnavas whose Avya Bhava Tirobhav is today, Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharti Maharaj. What other godbrother Srila?
Srila Bhakti Swarup Parvat Goswami Maharaj.
Bhakti Swarup Parvat Goswami Maharaj. So because of time and because of my own lack of knowledge of these exalted Vaishnavas, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranam and begging their causeless mercy and speaking very shortly about the glories of our Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur because he was so very dear to Srila Gurudev and also very prominent in the descent of the conceptions of Mahaprabhu, especially for us. In the interest of time, I'll just try to be very brief. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, like Raghunath Das Goswami, is the Nitya associate of Shri Radha Krishna Yugal, Vinoda Manjari. And whenever the eternal associates descend to this world, the Nitya Sanskar that they have as associates of Bhagavan is always present. So they always show in their Acharya Leela or earthly Leela, even from the very beginning of their life, they show no interest in the material world. So similarly, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he appeared in Devagram in Nadia, and he was to Narayan Chakravarti. Narayan Chakravarti, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, was disciple of Narottam Das Thakur, correct? Yes. Disciple of Narottam Das Thakur. And he had brothers also, Raghunath and Ramabhadra. So both his elder brothers were also very, very great scholars. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in their association, from a very young age, had so much attraction to Srimad Bhagavatam and zero attraction to the normal playing of young boys. So in the association of his father, who was a great devotee, and also his elder brothers, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was always immersed in hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. As he grew up, all gave affection because he was the youngest. So it is only natural that who was the baby of the family. I was the baby of my family. I don't look like a baby at all, but I was the baby. My brothers today, his elder brothers, he stands next to me. If you say this is my baby brother, it sounds very ridiculous. So, but babies always get so much affection from the family. So in the same way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur received affection from a whole community, from his father, his mother's name not known, not printed in the Abhidhan, but also from his elder brothers, so much affection they showed him. So that affection and love nourished in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur made him so infused even with prema at that time. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, as he grew up, he didn't show any interest in anything but learning. So he became very, very high class of scholar. Of course, seeing the tendency, as in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, that this child is developing so much attraction to Srimad Bhagavatam, it is only natural that vairagya or detachment will come in the heart. Because anybody who's genuinely reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of high-class devotees, one symptom will be there that natural detachment will come. But it is also the natural phenomenon of not only Indian families or Indian culture, but every culture, that you want to see the children prosper, grow, marry, so forth. And because bhakti is such an integral part of even everyday life in Indian culture, that they don't see that there needs to be such a separation. In the West, obviously, a direct separation from the mundane culture of the West to the practice of bhakti is very noticeable. But in India, many people in their homes, like in the home of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, very serious high-class devotees. In the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, as you mentioned, Mahaprabhu said they were Vaishnav Praya. But what is Vaishnav Praya for the family of Raghunath Das Goswami? What would be the comparison to Western families? You can't make any comparison. So in the home of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what to speak, they were not Vaishnav Praya, they're high class of Vaishnav. But still, he wondered what will happen, how my son will keep any sense of worldliness at all, to marry and go on. So as time proved, as he grew in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and as he grew in the association of many devotees who would come to also visit that place, his detachment became very, very serious. Gradually, he took initiation from Radharaman Chakravarti. And from Radharaman Chakravarti, he had very deep impressions, and he also took shiksha from Krishna Charan. So between these two, his initiating guru and shiksha guru, so much deep feeling to obtain the service of Radha and Krishna. And Braj, of course, this is his Leela, became very infused in his heart. So then, at an opportune time, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur left, and he went to Vrindavan, staying in Yavad, sometime at Govardhan, sometime here, sometime there. And finally at Radhakund, he was spending his time there absorbed in bhajan life. It came a time when Radharaman Chakravarti Thakur, for various reasons, called him back to visit his family. At that time that he came back, because before he left, there was some insistence, and to satisfy his family, he did marry. So when he came back, Radharaman Chakravarti asked, "Oh, you want to stay in Vrindavan? You have become quite a scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Have you realized Srimad Bhagavatam completely?" This is one pastime between Radharaman Chakravarti and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, "Only Gurudev, you can judge that thing." He said, "Okay, tell me what is the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam." So even though he had studied so much, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur taught in the presence of his guru, because one should always feel foolish in the presence of his Guru Jan, meaning his seniors, or even especially directly his Gurudev. So he didn't express at that time. So he says, "Oh, then my suggestion to you," Radharaman Chakravarti told, "is that you should go and write by your own hand Srimad Bhagavatam." So one significance in this is that one, if he hears and then he also is writing, he's performing a dual service to Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but in order to write something, you have to digest each akshar, each letter of Bhagavatam. And in that way, writing each letter, and then writing carefully each letter. Because one brother told me, you can go now and you can see the writings of the Goswamis in the Vrindavan Research Institute. So he said, if you look at the writings of different Goswamis, like Rupa Goswami's writing was like pearls. He says, if you look at Jiva Goswami's writing, it was like a mad scientist. There were notes everywhere, it was scribble here, scribble there, everything. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad also had very sweet, very neat handwriting. So in his own handwriting, because that days you could not say, well, get Bhagavatam, okay, let me take it to Kinko's, I'll bring a copy back. No such thing. So he had to write by hand every single letter, 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. After writing 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then he came back, he told his Gurudev, "Oh, now I fully understand what is the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the Seva of Yugal Kishore in Vrindavan, which I was there." So now Radharaman Chakravarti said, but still, it is not so easy simply to live in Vrindavan. One has to live in Vrindavan not just by body, and even not just by understanding intellectually what the Srimad Bhagavatam conclusion, which that is the conclusion of Bhagavatam. Give up everything to reside near Radhakund in Braj with the aspiration for Radha Krishna Yugal Seva. But even by intelligence and by body alone, you cannot do. That you'll have to have genuine realization, which is shown in genuine detachment. Because if actual taste for this service has come, naturally detachment will come. So he asked, you married before you left. So you should go to visit your wife. Because he had not taken renunciation or anything that time. You should go to visit your wife and you should spend one night there. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad went. His wife's name was, what's her name?
Viva.
Viva. So one night he spent in her association. And sitting in her association, you know what to do? We've never had any mundane relationship. So we will not sit and do any mundane things. So what to do? So then he took his Srimad Bhagavatam out. And he began reading from that Srimad Bhagavatam. And whole night she was hearing, questioning, and he was answering and speaking. Whole night, 24 hours. The next day he went to Radharaman Chakravarti, who asked, oh, what was this night like with your wife? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because you cannot be dishonest with Gurudev, he told, oh, Gurudev, in all honesty, this is how we spent the entire evening. Then his Gurudev gave blessing. Oh, certainly you've realized. Because anybody who could conquer being in the intimacy of the opposite party, then that person means they've actually realized detachment. Because in this world, many attachments, but the attachment man to woman, woman to man is the strongest. So anyone who can be in that presence in the right conditions and not succumb to that, that means genuine detachment has come in your heart. Jiva Goswami Pad also has written, if anyone undergoes vikar in the association of the opposite sex, he's truly not ready to taste what is rasa. Jiva Goswami himself has written. So now with this, Radha Raman Chakravarti is also given his blessings. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur now went to spend so many years in Braj, completely absorbed there. So he became, especially after Goswami Varga, he became the prominent acharya in Braj. Also, one other thing is that the way Mahaprabhu allowed the teachings to descend is that the two parallel tracks of Tattvagata Vichar and Rasagata Vichar would stay side by side. Because what happened in Sahajyavad, Prakrita Sahajyavad, was the Tattvagata Vichar either becomes twisted, perverted, disconnected from Rasa Vichar, and so in this way you have all of the Apasampradayas. So Mahaprabhu wanted this line to stay very strict, the two tracks of progress in Bhakti, Tattvagata Vichar, Rasagata Vichar. How he did this, in the Mool Grantha of Sanatana Goswami Pad, we had Bhagavatamrita, all Siddhantas established there. From that, Rupa Goswami Pad could now write Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjal Nilamani, so many other granthas he could write. After Rupa Goswami, then Jiva Goswami synthesized everything in Tattva Sandarbhas with all Siddhanta impeccably. If you want to understand Siddhanta, not only of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but Gaudiya Vaishnavism in comparison to the Sad Darshans, 6 schools of philosophy of India, you could read Jiva Goswami Sandarbha and understand everything, including Vedanta, which is so difficult. So Jiva Goswami accomplished this monumental work to establish Siddhanta completely and clearly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad now came back again and established the purity of Rasa Vichar with all of these synthesized teachings of Jiva Goswami. Even in places he mentioned, some things I know Jiva Goswami Pad is written for others, because Srila Gurudev told many times that among the many followers of Jiva Goswami, not all could digest the highest level of Rasagata Vichar, which is Parakya Bhav. So he told, I know that Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has written some things for others to accommodate and some things for himself. He stayed strictly in the line of Rasagata Vichar, which is why he was so dear to Srila Gurudev. Srila Gurudev, when he did his Bhagavad Gita, he used the Sa'artha Varsini Tika of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Gurudev also allowed devotees, because many of our devotees, when they were looking, whenever Gurudev would ask anybody to speak, I could see on the stage many devotees had down where they had the Sa'artha Darshini Tika of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur looking. So Gurudev also approved like this. So Sa'artha Darshini, Sa'artha Ujjal Nilamani Kiran, Gurudev himself translated Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. All the writings of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he completely established in purity the teachings of Rasagata Vichar of our line, including the defeat of prominent Prakrita Sahajavad things like the writings of Rupa Kaviraj. In the third canto of Sartadasini Tika, he completely defeats the teachings of Rupa Kaviraj. Also in Raghavatma Chandrika, he also completely defeats it. Actually, it's mentioned that he actually pulled a court case against this Rupa Kaviraj, and that the papers of that court case are still available there. This is how serious he was to defeat. He was so strong in his teachings, so strong in his refutation of all kinds of apasiddhanta that he found no favor with the Jata Gosai in Braj. So even it's mentioned that they conspired together to have him killed, because so serious sometimes was the influence of Vaishnavas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we know that story as well, that people become so envious that they will go to that extreme. So when the people were hired to kill Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, they came, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad was in one bower. He was picking flowers and putting in a basket. Because when they came in, all they saw was a transformation from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad to Vinod Manjari. So seeing only one young girl, they asked, have you seen one elderly gentleman running through here? So she said, no, I have not seen anyone. I've only here picking flowers in the service of my Swamini. So then coming back again, no soldiers thought, not possible. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was a little older then, not possible to outrun the soldiers at that time. So they were thinking, while they were considering, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gave mercy and gave them darshan of his Siddha Roop and Sadhak Roop. So now showing first the little girl Vinod Manjari, then showing the Sadhak Roop of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad. Seeing that, they became amazed. And they also surrendered and rendered no harm to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In fact, they became disciples, I believe, if I remember correctly. I'm speaking from memory. Of course, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one crowning achievement was the acceptance and mercy that he gave to Sri Baladev Vijabhushan. Again, staying on the theme of how Rasagata Vichar and Tattvagata Vichar go hand in hand, it is through Baladev Vijabhushan that our Srila Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita and used the commentary of Baladev Vijabhushan. And Srila Baladev Vijabhushan is known as Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya because he was so steeped in understanding Vedanta, right? When some problem arose in Jaipur, because all the deities, actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was in Vrindavan not long or during the time near when Aurangzeb was committing all atrocities there. So it was a very difficult time in Vrindavan, and we know all the deities had gone to Jaipur, to Karoli and to Jaipur proper and all. So at that time, some dispute arose, and the king of Jaipur was in a predicament that Radha Govindaji was being worshipped there, but the Ramanandis, they were having a problem from Sri Sampradaya. Well, how can you make the highest ideal of worship something which at its very core appears to have a dharma, which is that any unwed persons are being worshipped and their love affairs being worshipped? How could this be? So to worship Lakshmi Narayan, this is digestible. But to worship Radha and Krishna and these things, we can't see how this could be. And Jaipur is deities coming to Jaipur, they're like coming from Vrindavan. So now they're in Jaipur. They said, no, we can't have this. So they requested, the king sent that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, who was the same Pati of that time, the Mahant of our Gaudiya line, that he should come and straighten this thing out. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, due to age, so forth and so on, he commissioned Baladev Vijabhushan Prabhu to go. We all know the story. Baladev Vijabhushan Prabhu went there, and Baladev Vijabhushan Prabhu gave all arguments. But they said, well, wait, first of all, we can't just accept that. What is your personal argument? We all accept mutual authority, because in a debate, in Vedic culture, there has to be certain standards, like a Madhyastha, somebody to moderate the debate. There has to be mutual authority, which granthas will accept, what sadhus will accept. So they said, we all accept Vedanta. Please show us a commentary on Vedanta, and then if you could prove from Vedanta these things you're speaking, then we can discuss. So he said, well, give me some time. Said, no, we'll give you, what they gave, 1 week?
1 day.
No, they gave more. He accomplished 1 day. But they gave more time. You go and you show any commentary. So going to the lotus feet of Govinda Dev, Baladev Vijabhushan Prabhu prayed, Srila Gurudev described, this is your predicament. not mine. If you want to have Srimati Radhika staying by your side, you'll have to inspire or give the direct evidence, because you yourself are Apurusheya, origin of all Veda and Vedanta. So you have to give this evidence. So Govindaji directly spoke Govinda Bhasya, which would have been Baladevi Jabhushan Bhasya, but he spoke it, so it became Govinda Bhasya. And as the instrument of Shri Govinda, Baladevi Jabhushan wrote down everything. Coming back within 1-2 days with an entire commentary of Vedanta is impossible. And you've seen part of Govinda Bhasya, even some translations. So how to establish the depth of that Tattva Siddhanta in that time, unimaginable. So this is also proof Govinda Dev wrote. So he came back and showing and discussing with all became disciples now. Not only letting Govindaji worship, but because that time people are not so envious. So if any praman is giving and proof is given, then they'll surrender to that. Right? This is the actual meaning of debate also. So at Shalagram Shila, and when Gunjamala, Mahaprabhu used to worship it very dearly, very close to his heart. Mahaprabhu eventually gave that Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, worshipping on the bank of Radhakund, eventually gave that to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had one sevak named Mukunda. I was not there. So it was me and a different Mukunda. So at that time, being very merciful, he gave that Shila to Mukunda. Mukunda was worshipping that Gunjamala and that Giriraj Shila, not Shila, Giriraj Shila. In the course of time, once, he became very ill, some digestive problem. And one Krishna Priya Vaishnavi, she, seeing the condition of Mukunda and knowing him to be a very great sadhu, she personally cooked and prepared Ayurvedic medicine, everything for him. When he became well again, in his gratitude, he gave her that Giriraj and that Gunjamala. Later, she, recognizing the great qualities of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, gave him that same Giriraj Shila and Gunjamala, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad. So in this way, the descent of Mahaprabhu's mercy is seen in Vishwanath in the sense of how the Vichardhara conceptions came down, but his direct mercy, which was manifest in his own love and affection for this Giriraj and Gunjamala, which represented Radhika, passed down in this way, also came to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad. So there are many other things, but Jai Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad.
Did you say he has the same Manjari name as Pancami?
Yes, Vinod Manjari.
Really? That sounds, I heard that.
He's also Vinod Manjari. Many Manjaris, they also have dual names, like Rati Manjari and Tulsi Manjari is nickname for Raghunath Das Goswami.
Very good. Interesting. Yes. And the same Girashila and Gunjamala are in Gokulanand temple in Vrindavan. And that Gokulanand Thakurji belongs to, I think, Baldev Vidyabhushan.
Yes,
Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad. And so many deities are there in that temple.
Yes,
Gokulanand and Gunjamala. And I go there, I see there, I ask who is who, and then I forget it. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhpadatam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sadivam Sadvatam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lita Shri Vishakha Anvita Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjan Shalakya Chakshurnamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Tinam Shri Krishna Leela Katane Sudaksham Udari Madhure Gunesha Yuktam वरवरेण्यं प्रशमान्तं नारायणं तमां शिरसा नमामि। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्याय नाम्ने गौरी तुष्टे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमस्ते। तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति भक्ति नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 First of all, I pay my innumerable obeisances unto my most beloved and revered Gurudev, Lila Pravishnu Vishnupad Astuta Srimati Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Also to my whole Guru Parampara and to all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavis present here. Pujpad Syamarani didi, she is very big inspiration to all of our Sangha, especially empowered by our Gurudev and by Srila Prabhupada.
Are you taking revenge or something?
Yeah, I am taking revenge because she kept on speaking so long for me. So one way I am delighted that some such a high advanced devotees you speak so high about you. That means you are really very high. But in our Hindi phrase we say कितने पानी में हो तुम हम जानते हैं. How much in the drawn in the water I know that how much I am in the water of material world. How much I am drawn in this world. Anyway, she said, I did lot of efforts to make a temple in Delhi. Yes, a temple is there. Shishi Gaur Hari Shishi Radha Raman Bihari ji. Very beautiful deities. Because they are the deities of Srila Gurudev's heart has been presented outside. Just similarly, Gurudev's heart deity of Seva Kunj has been presented by Syamarani Didi over here. Here I see Gaur Hari Shishi Radha Govind ji also very beautiful, very attractive. Mahaprabhu, see, so charming. It appears that Radha ji mood is with him. And Radharani, oh, so attractive here. So Alajua, I feel, very powerful place. So many devotees live. See Mukunda Prabhu, he spoke so eloquently about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. I have never heard so much. And frankly speaking, I don't have so much brain to keep those things in my mind to speak so much. Memory loss. And he remembered everything. Shyam Prabhu, he invited me here. I am very much indebted to him. When he was there in Delhi, he told that you come to Alajua. And he arranged everything for me. One thing that I feel, that living in temple, managing the affairs, it's really hard and tough job. And many times I feel that I am not doing bhajan. The speed of doing offenses is far faster than the speed of doing bhajan. In the state of being secretary of an institution. I remember once I went with Gurudev for his teeth work. He was having some problem with teeth. It was in South Delhi, Greater Kailash Part 2. So doctor was not there and we had to stand outside on the street. So I was with Gurudev and I told him, Gurudev, you made me secretary in charge of the temple. Inside my heart, I feel too weak to take care of it. And I truly speak to you, Gurudev, it feels that very little 0-watt bulb has been put on the high tension of 440 voltage. A very weak 0-watt bulb has been put on a high tension of 440 watt. And any moment I will get phapak ke phapak jaunga. This I spoke in Hindi to him. Means it will fuse. At any moment, it will fuse. Phapak, fuse, phuk jaunga. Phapak ke phuk jaunga. You know what Gurudev said? Gurudev said, I did not make you secretary. Then who did you? Who made me Gurudev? Your internal desire made you secretary. You must have wanted to be so. You must have wanted to be so. My God. I remember first time when he went to Videsh in 1996. When he came back, he talked to me personally. He said, you know, it seems to me as if I had a dream. I just dreamt that I went outside abroad and I went to these places and came back. Then next time he again told me, you know, when I used to study in my school, I was very much attached to history and geography. Very much attached. So I used to read history and I used to get 100% marks. I used to read geography, world geography. There are so many mountains. And he told me all the names of mountains of USA. He remembered them by heart. He said, probably that time I might have desired to go to these places. To my understanding, I never desired to go now. But during that time, when I was studying in school, I used to be having some desire to see how do these things, these places look like. So I went to abroad. And to me he said, you wanted to be secretary, so you became secretary. And most of the time since then, I always pray to Gurudev, I wanted only Krishna Prema, not a secretary. This is a very tedious job, to be secretary, to be in charge. And then once Gurudev narrated a story from Ramayana that one dog came to the kingdom of Lord Ram. It is in Valmiki Ramayana. And he rang the bell. Bell was made to speak your complaint to Lord Ram. And it was seen that a dog was standing outside. Finally, dog was called. Just what is your complaint? He said, my complaint is that one Brahman, he beat me by throwing the stone on me. Call that Brahman. The Brahman came. Lord Ram asked, did you beat him? Yes, Maharaj. He was acting like that. What was he acting? That he was lying just in the path. And I was going and I said, hut, hut, hut. But he was not ready to move. And he was looking at me in a very taunting way. So I beat him because he was in my way. Dog said, it was a big path, Maharaj. He could have gone from this way also, that way also. Why he wanted me to get up? Lord Ram said, yes, the point is very powerful. Then, but we don't have anything to give punishment to Brahman in our civil code, penalty code. We cannot penalize a Brahman. I don't know what should I do with him. Anyway, if you have any idea, you tell me. Lord Ram asked that how should I penalize this Brahman from that dog? And dog said that you make him head of that biggest temple of your region. He said, what? Make him the biggest head of that temple. Then one brother of Lord Ram asked the dog, why you gave this penalty to him? It is not penalty, it is reward. Tell me, who are you in your past life? He said, I was also the head of that temple in my past life. Means, if you become the head of a temple, big temple, then next life you will become dog. So I am going ahead towards that.
So explain why.
Eh?
Can you explain why?
You are bound to do so many such acts. As I told you another day that I became furious on your such a nice Sevika Vasanti. I have chastised Tirath Maharaj, I have chastised Madha Maharaj, I have chastised Sridhar Maharaj. I am telling about me. And I have also chastised Hare Krishna Prabhu in our temple. And whom not? Whom not? So it can be possible that all these repercussions may take to me to any type of bad places. We are bound to do something like that. We need authority. We need, as a head, we need authority. We need loyalty. And we need money. And then only we can control. And all of the main problem comes a desire to control, which is in everyone since ages together. Not from now, from ages together.
The first time you told that story was you were translating Gurudev's class. I was there and I heard you. It was in Mathura. And did you say at that time that he also misappropriated the money of the temple?
Oh.
The dog in his past life? Or did I remember wrong? Because he was the head.
Yeah, Gurudev said this thing. Gurudev said this thing. Gurudev said this thing that he misappropriated money of the temple. And I feel that when you become head of the temple, the money is in your hand and you spend in your own way. This is indirectly or directly misappropriation, because you have a good car, you have good dresses, you go by flight, you go here and there, and you spend as you want. You have best phone in your hand, everything the best you have because you have money with you. So if we see the life of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were not living in a hut. They were living in a tree, and not one day beneath a tree. They were changing the tree every day so that they should not get attached to it. We are attached to our room. We are attached to our everything which we have. Very, very distant situation from those who are really devotees like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami. But fortunately, we are getting opportunity to talk about them. I remember when first time I was going to abroad for preaching in 1998. Gurudev went in 1996 and I went in 1998. I went to USA. So I wrote email to Srila Gurudev. First I wrote that please accept my innumerable obeisances at your lotus feet. He replied back that he does not have enough space. When I said accept innumerable obeisances at your lotus feet, and he said he does not have enough space. That hilarious relation he had with me, always joking, smiling, laughing. And one time, one person, he came to Gurudev and he said, Gurudev, please accept my innumerable obeisances at your lotus feet. He spoke to Gurudev. Gurudev said, okay, start doing. Then I realized that we do not even do once in our life, and we are talking about innumerable, just lips movement, moving our lips. I wrote to him, Gurudev, please, after that, extract one and only one Dandvat Pranam at your lotus feet forever, once forever. I am not interested for innumerable obeisances. One obeisance is forever. So when I was going, I said, Gurudev, you stop us to take tea, but I demand from you 3 teas. And I wrote only this thing, and then I see, number 1, capacity. I am going for preaching. So 1 tea, capacity. And 2nd tea, facility. And the 3rd tea, opportunity. So we are today sitting here. This is facility. He gave that tea to us. We are talking about Raghunath Das Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and all these great personalities. This is opportunity he gave to us to speak. And I am looking at you all people that you know so much. That is your capacity, and I am not that much capable, but still I am speaking to in front of all of you. Those who are so much capable. Some capacity he gave to speak. And probably if he get pleased, then whatever the offenses I am doing, he may mitigate them for some extent. But to my understanding, it is too much, which I am daily doing. Today is Vasanta Pancami.
You left out one T.
No?
Gurudev gave you also so much humility.
And sincerity.
And
Sincerity.
Sincerity.
So many T's.
Humility, sincerity.
He gave it to you.
Frankly speaking, they say once upon a time in Europe that marble was being sold by the people, and then they will put some wax on it, and when it was sold in the summer, that wax will melt and it will become very dirty and very bad. So they speak sin means without, or seer means wax. So sincere means without wax. So the customer will come and ask, this stone sincere means without wax, and from there this sincerity word has come out, without wax. And what is wax? Wax means malignness in the heart. My heart is totally, like inside urine stool and outside the skin. Skin is covering everything. So that is sincerity I don't have at all. There is so many maligness, so many bad things inside. If really sincerity comes, फिर तो बात ही क्या है? Oh, you will get everything. That's what Gurudev always spoke. No duplicity. That is sincerity. What is sincerity? No duplicity. And any little material desire will bring some duplicity in us automatically. We cannot go out of it. Any desire. And frankly speaking, though it is very difficult to remove lust, at least to me, and far more than this is, remove the desire of pratishtha, name and fame. And in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, only that person is eligible to speak and to understand who is nirmatsaranam. Nirmatsar means who has no any enviousness. And if we have desire for name and fame, enviousness is automatically there. Automatically there. Even if we think that, oh, he is speaking so good, that is indirectly saying that I am not speaking so good. Why he is speaking so good? Why his shirt is whiter than me? That is the problem. Why his shirt is whiter than me? This is the problem. Many times I feel, Srila Gurudev said, we have such a high class of desire, becoming servant of Radharani. Even in 100 lives it happens, it means it is fast. It is soon. So, how many lives will it take? I don't know. Bharat Maharaj, it happened in 3 lives. Prahlad and Dhruv in the 1 life. How many lives for me, I cannot count. But if mercy comes, then it can be in the same life. I am. Anyway, if I will keep on talking this thing, there is no end to it. Let me come to the point. Yeah, Vasanta Panchami. If you allow me, I will say something on Vasanta Panchami. There are 6 seasons in India, or I may say they are Vedic seasons. They are the seasons of also Golok Vrindavan. 6 seasons. And every season in 12 months is 2 months. So 2 months season. And out of which this is the best season known as Vasant Panchami. When I was young and not in Bhakti, hilariously I wrote a poem. In Hindi, everything has male or female link. Everything. Even if you say wood, wood is a female. A tree, tree is a male. We speak like this. Ped gir gaya, tree fell down. But in Hindi, ped gir gaya means ped is male and it gir gaya. Gaya means male. So all the seasons are female, but only is one male. That is Vasanta Panchami. All seasons give problems. When it is cold, problem. When it is hot, problem. When it is, what to say, Patjar, again problem. But when it is Basant, it always gives pleasure. No much cold, no much heat. Very sweet weather. Even rivers are very nice. So, transcendental effect of the transcendental land reflects even on this material land of India when this Vasant comes, this month comes. And in India, we do all the activities with some muhurat, that what is the proper time to come. Our business, marriages, anything like that. So it is said that there are 2 or 3 occasions in India when you can do without asking for muhurat. And one of them is Vasant Panchami. If you want marriage, I got my daughter married on Vasant Panchami without asking for any muhurat. If you want to purchase a house, better Vasant Panchami. And if you want to run a business, do on Vasant Panchami. One is Akshay Tritiya, that time when Param Gurudev he opened Devanand Gaudiya Math. And one is also Dashmi, what you call this Vijay Dashmi. We call it Dashera. These 3 or 4 occasions are like this. If we want to do anything, we don't need to see Muhurat. Very auspicious days. Very auspicious days. You know, so much flowers are blossoming in this season. And there is one crop in India that is known as sarson. Sarson is a crop. It has yellow flower. And sarson means, what do you call it in English? Mustard. Mustard. Sarson is mustard. So sarson is green plant and yellow flower. If you go, there is a field of sarson and with yellow flower, you will feel a sheet of yellow chadar is spreading on the field. Yellow sheet. So this month is of yellowness. That is why everywhere you will see in India, they will wear Thakurji yellow dress, and they have done it here also. Why? Because this Vasant Panchami brings yellowness. And Srila Gurudev says, what is yellowness? You know? That is the complexion of Radharani. So Radharani's complexion is spreaded all over there in this Vasant Panchami. So much fragrance is all over there. And heart also becomes very, very pleased. no any ambiguity remains in heart. People do Saraswati Puja. Materialistic people do the Saraswati of material world. That gives material knowledge. But there is Divya Saraswati also, who gave darshan to Keshav Kashmiri. When Keshav Kashmiri was defeated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he cried to Saraswati. That time, that Divya Saraswati said, "You know who is this Mahaprabhu? He is my husband." Means she feels herself as wife of Supreme Lord. That is known as Vidya. Without Vidya, we cannot have a pure transcendental knowledge. Or we may say this Vidya is covered by material knowledge in this material world. So this spring season is a very pure season which is a reflection of a spiritual world on this earthly planet, at least in India. But now I am seeing in India also, it's not happening so. It becomes sometimes foggy, it becomes sometimes cold, it becomes sometimes not a spring like, because Kali Yuga is coming fast. One thing very interesting, for which we love this Vasant, that Krishna did Basanti Ras on this day. Krishna did one Ras, that is Shardiya Ras, in Vrindavan at the bank of Yamuna. That Ras is famous Ras, has been narrated in Srimati Bhagavatam. Why Bhagavatam is telling all this Ras? Because in that Ras, all type of gopis were dancing. All type means the senior most also and the junior most also, newly coming. So all were there in that Ras. But when this Ras took place at the foot of Giraj Govardhan, near a village which is known as Parsali, this Ras took place. Why? That Parsali, there is a place named Pentha. Gurudev takes our parikrama to that place named Pentha. And at that time Krishna disappeared and all the gopis, they started crying for Krishna. And then Krishna took the form of Chaturbhuj. Now see, Radharani is there and millions of gopis are there. And all were trying to find out Krishna. So there were a group. One group who was not concerned with Radharani. That group went ahead of Radharani. And there were one group who were follower of Radharani. It remained behind Radharani. So those gopis, those who went ahead of Radharani, and Krishna gave them his darshan in the form of Narayan Chaturbhuj. And Krishna was smiling and they said, "Oh, it look like Krishna, but it is Narayana. He has 4 hands. Oh Narayan, do you know where is Krishna? Where he has gone?" And Narayan is saying, "You come to me. I am Supreme Lord. Why are you going for Krishna?" They say, "If you are Supreme Lord, tell where is Krishna. We don't need you, we need him." Then he said, "Okay, go to him." And they went away. They missed Krishna by missing Narayana. And when Radharani came just near to this Krishna in the form of Narayan, and he had a smell of Radharani. Radharani has very sweet fragrance. Same Krishna has. Radharani recognizes Krishna's fragrance and Krishna recognizes Radharani's fragrance. That fragrance went into the nostril of Krishna and Krishna became totally overwhelmed. He could not control himself. And his two hands, they went into his body. That is the constitutional position of Krishna. That is two-handed form. This four-handed form is his expansion. It is not his constitutional position. So in front of Radharani, he became Krishna. And all those gopis who were following Radharani, they saw Krishna. And all those who were going ahead of Radharani, they missed Krishna. They missed Krishna. They went away. So Srila Gurudev has very elaborately mentioning this Vasanti Ras in his book Rai Ramanand Samvad, discussion between Rai Ramanand and Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is asking, quote me from the verses, from the scriptures. What is the highest goal? What is the highest goal? And process also, sadhana. Rai Ramanand is telling many things, following the Varnashram Dharma. Then he said many other things from Gita also. The topmost thing of Gita, Saradharan Pratyatya Mamekam Sharanam. And Mahaprabhu told this is also why. Why means external. Because they don't pertain to soul. Soul is a spiritual item. It is transcendental. It has nothing to do with anything which is material, including mukti also. So anything mukti, that is jnana, which goes beyond jnana, then transcendental realm starts. And then he said, Shant Bhav. Mahaprabhu says, okay, go ahead. Dasya Bhav, oh, go ahead. Then he said, Sakha Bhav. Krishna says, very good. Something more. Then Dasya Bhav, oh, Vasalya Bhav. Vasalya Bhav is very high. It is higher than Sakya Bhav. Then he said, Madhurya Bhav. And he said, yes, tell me something more about Madhurya Bhav. He spoke about gopis, mood of the gopis. Oh.
We can extend it.
No, it is. I will not speak too much. I don't have any stock of too much. 12:30 we can do aarti.
We can go.
Then Madhurya Bhav, mood of gopis. It's so high. How much high? Gurudev starts that bhakti starts from Shraddha. Shraddha is mixture of Aladani potency and Samvit potency. Aladani Samvit Sar. It starts from Shraddha. More unearthed, unwanted desires go away, then Shraddha crop up. It develops into Nishtha. And then Asakti. Then Bhav. And condensed form of Bhav, it becomes Prem. We call Prem. Prem cannot be tolerated in this body. So we have to take birth in house of gopis. We will have different body, transcendental body. From there, Prem also, it goes higher and higher. Isne Ma, Pranay, Man, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav. So gopis are in this realm of Mahabhav. Their prem is so high. And Mahabhav also goes high. Rud, Adhirud, Mohan, Modan, and then Madan. Madan is the bhav of Radharani. That is why his name, bhav is known as Madanakya Mahabhav. Even gopis can't touch that bhav. That is exclusive property of Radharani. Wherein a mood of separation and meeting go together. There are many people in Vrindavan, they don't accept mood of separation. Kishori, Kishori Milan, they say, but they don't accept that they don't meet. They go separate. Hit, Harivansh, etc. There are many people, they don't accept that they go separate. But our Gaudiya Sampradaya, their love is based on separation. They say, separation pushed karta hai milan ko. What do you call it, pushed? Nourishes. Yes. It nourishes. It solidifies. It increases. More separation, more pleasure in meeting. More separation, more pleasure in meeting. But the moment separation goes and meeting takes place, because of lack of separation, that meeting, pleasure in meeting reduces. But in Radharani's mood, Madanakya Mahabhav, because separation parallelly remains there, so the mood of meeting also becomes more and more nourished, powerful. Just you are wearing a white shirt with black pant. Then white shirt shines more. So the black pant is the separation mood. And white pant is the milan. White shirt is the milan. So Mahaprabhu says, it seems that Radharani is the topmost beloved of Krishna. How do you prove it? And he proved it from Shardiya Ras, that when Radharani became in sulking mood, and this is Yogamaya, Karishma of Yogamaya. Each and every gopi is having Krishna with her. And she thinks that now Krishna is with me only and he is not with anyone else. So she got Sobhagya Mad. That is the proud of her fortune. But Radharani, when she looked around, she saw that Krishna was running to each and gopis and coming to him also. Why it happened so? So this was all arrangement of Yogamaya like. That she is seeing so many girls, gopis, and Krishna is going to everyone, and he claimed that he loves me only. He loves me topmost, but he is going to everyone. So she becomes in sulky mood. In order to pacify her sulky mood, Krishna took secretly from that scene Radharani and ran away from there, disappeared from there. Then Mahaprabhu says, oh, this shows his affinity to Radharani, but fear also with others. But that is not the topmost love. Topmost love is when there is no fear. Then only it will be recognized as topmost love. Then he quotes from Vasanti Das. Where is Vasanti Das? The narration of Vasanti Das is given by Jayadev Goswami. He wrote Geet Govind. In that Geet Govind, though this is Nitya Ras, so one of the pastime of this Nitya Ras of Vasanti Ras. One Ras is taking place at the bank of Yamuna, that is Shardiya Ras. In this Ras, Only senior gopis are there. The newcomers are not there. And here Radharani came in so much sulky mood that she went away from the scene. She left the Rasasthali, that Parsali place. And when Krishna saw that Radharani is not there, then he said, why Ras then? If Raseshwari is not there, why Ras? And how Ras? He declared that Radharani is Raseshwari and Raseshwari.
When you say there is senior, only the senior gopis are there, do you mean senior only from Radha's Paksha or the 4 different groups of seniors?
Once upon a time, I had this feeling that it was only of Radha Paksha.
No, that's a radical.
But later on, I came to know it is only Radha Kund where Radha Rani and Radha Pakshi gopis are there. But at that place, which was in Govardhan, Chandravali was also there. But Chandra Sarovar, yes, Chandra Sarovar partially, they are quite adjoined. And that where others were also there. Only those gopis who did that puja, which puja? 2, 3, 4 years, young girls puja, Katyani puja, those who were coming from the material world, they are known as Rishichari, Munichari. I think they were screened out in that Rasi because they were new. They were new. Yeah, Nitya Gopis were there in this. First, I thought that it must be only those who are. This was my impression, and that impression came in my heart, frankly speaking, from Gurudev's classes only. But later on, I specifically asked, then I came to know, no, all of them were there. Because it is only a scot-free place is Rajakund, where neither Jatila can go, nor Kutila can go, and nor Chandravali can go, or not their Sakhis can go.
How can Krishna walk away from the Ras, even in front of Chandravali? He had no fear?
Yeah, that is what it was shown in this pastime, that he was so much absorbed in Radharani, he did not even look at any gopis, whether what is she feeling or not feeling, maybe Chandravali or any Ali. Ali means friend, whoever may be. He did not fear. And he started crying in front of everyone, where is Radhe, 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 Radhe? And he started running here and there. Sometime it is said that Radharani went to Mansarovar and Krishna also went to see Mansarovar. And some or other means this pastimes when was narrated by Ramanand Rai to Mahaprabhu. Oh, Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed. That's the point. Now you tell me more about all these places, more about Krishna Tattva, more about Radha Tattva, more about this and that. And such a big talk still went on. And when telling about Radharani, he was telling his own poem, and then he told about Rasraj and Mahabhav and meeting of both. Then Mahaprabhu put finger on his lips. Well, at one point you are inspiring me, at the other point you are stopping me. Then Gurudev explains that if you will speak this thing, and if it is heard by someone else who are not qualified, then it will be not good. And secondly, if you will go more deep, then I will not be able to control myself in this mode. I have come here to taste the mood of Radharani. So, if you will keep on speaking their relationship, then I may come out of, I may adopt my own constitutional form of Krishna. So please stop it from here. And this is the real Vasanta Ritu, which brings us to Vasanti Ras, which gives the highest pleasure to Krishna, which gives highest pleasure to Mahaprabhu. So thinking all these things, if we celebrate this season, it will be our great pleasure. Gaur Premanande.
Very quickly, those 2 points are there in those verses. The 2 points are, those, I'm speaking loud. Those 2 points are there in the verses. In the verse of Subhagyamat, in the end, Krishna Chavati Thakur said, Antardhiyata, that in Sanskrit means Krishna disappeared. So different acharyas have given etymology on that word Antardhiyata, but basically in Sanskrit it means to disappear. But here in Gita Govinda, Jayadeva Goswami said, Tat Tatya Vraja Sundari. So those Vraja Sundaris, including all Nityasara gopis, because Radhika's man is Irshaman. It's inspired by a kind of jealousy. Among her own paksh, jealousy doesn't really arise, very, very rare circumstance. But rather, Odhoja arises. If Radhika is so inspired, she would think, oh, Lalita should also enjoy it, Vishaka should also enjoy it. So Irsha or some jealousy can only come if there's some vipaksh there. And Radhika directly does not become jealous of Chandravali. Among the Saktis, Ujjwali and Mani says, they have this battle. But she simply feels offended by Krishna. You tell me I'm the only one, etc., etc. So this inspires Irsha. This can only happen if Chandravali and others are there. So when she left at that time, Ramananda Roy told Mahaprabhu, here's a proof, Kamsari Api Samsara, this verse, that only Tat Taja Rajasundari, that she walked, Tat Taja means he gave up in front of them, which is different. Antardhiyata means like he snuck away,
Hidingly.
Yeah, but Taja Rajasundari means in front of them, as Puri expressed, where's Radhika, where's Radhika? That had not done, and that's how Ramananda Roy proved to Mahaprabhu the supremacy of Radhika and Vasanti Ras.
God Premanande.
Yeah,